I'm Cameron, and this is the Conduit. It is Monday, March 15th, 2021. Hope you've had a great start to your week. I know I've had an interesting start to my week. As you know, I went in for a procedure earlier this morning and talked about that. So I am awake. I wouldn't say I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but I'm here ready to get it in. That's what has to happen. So that's what I'm here to do. At the bottom of the hour, we have Pastor Reverend Frankie Coleman from Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church. That should be an awesome interview. So very much looking forward to speaking with him and kind of hearing and learning about his story and listening and hearing his perspectives. So that should be fantastic. We've got a very full week this week. So on we go. Tomorrow we should have Miss Anita, if everything goes well. On Wednesday we have Elijah Meggs. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly. On Thursday, we should have some folks that want to expand, gather together, grow together into Texas. So we're going to hear from them and see what their ideas are for expansion. Then on Friday, we will have Minister Michael Ellington from New Horizon Baptist Church. So great week for sure. Hopefully we may have some other surprises kind of sprinkled within. So it should be really awesome. I see Cynthia's here. How you doing today, Cynthia? How was your Monday? Oh, I'm at work. I'm on a short break. I understand. Well, hang in there. Monday hopefully is almost over for you. Actually, I don't know when you're off, but you're always working too. You're always doing the thing. But yeah, that should be a really good interview. I guess before he comes on, I should probably share my results with you guys because that's important. As I said this morning, I felt it was important to kind of put out a PSA to men and especially our black men about going to the doctor and being proactive and not reactive, right? They have certain milestones based on age and other factors. You need to go in and get checked out. In my situation, I've been very bad at that. As you know, I was adopted. My mother put me up for adoption pretty much, I don't know, within the first year of my life when she was 16 when she had me. And so she did the best that she could do. I'll tell you that story one day. But as such, I do not have any medical history on myself or my family. So I don't know what's there. I don't know what's not. And so, I've got things that are kind of rare. I suffer from a lung condition called sarcoidosis. I have had a pituitary tumor in my brain that was pressing on my optic nerve. And so, when you don't know these things, you have to go in and get checked out. And oftentimes, doctors can help you if you go early. So please go early. Please go early. So I went in for an upper GI endoscopy. I was having a hard time keeping food down and swallowing, and this has been going on for a few years. And, men can be quite hard-headed and stubborn. It's like, I don't have time to go. I'll get there when I get there. The symptoms go away, and then you just go back to life as usual until they come back again. So, as I said this morning, I've got folks that do care about me and push on me to go into the doctor and move past the do as I say and or do as I say, not as I do. So it definitely was being hypocritical in my own advice for folks to go and seek medical attention. And so I went. So apparently I have a hiatal hernia, whatever that is. And so I've got to follow up with the doctor. Well, as such, the doctor says, well, since you're coming in here and we're going to be putting you down to go through your throat, we might as well go through your backside too and give you a colonoscopy because, you're getting up there in age and it's still a little early, but we might as well go ahead and knock it out. Well, it's a good thing that they did because apparently I have a tumor, my colon. And it's interesting to see the pictures. I won't do that. I think that's like TMI. Like, hey, look at the pictures of my tumor. So they, took a biopsy of that, and I'll get the results of that and see if it's benign in about 2 weeks and see what needs to be done, if anything, from that time. But again, they say you should wait until, or they say, 50 is about a time that a man should go in and get a colonoscopy. And now they're saying that, men can go in even earlier, 48, I think maybe even as early as 45, 46. So that's really important. I had a really awesome staff that took care of me today out there at the Silverdale Hospital. I think it's called St. Michael's. They changed the name from Harrison, and I can't remember now what it is. It's St. somebody. So, but I was out there, and you might actually see them on the podcast coming soon. So they were pretty excited to hear that I was doing a podcast, and said that they would love to come on and kind of share their information and talk to folks about healthcare, things that they need to watch out for and whatnot. So shout out to my medical staff today, taking great care of me. I hate needles. They definitely blew out one of my veins. It can be hard for phlebotomists to find veins on dark skin. So if you've had a lot of health issues and you go into the doctor over and over again, someone who wasn't afraid of needles can very well become afraid of needles. So, just something to consider. Anyhow, I digress. It is time for us to get into our interview. Like I said, I'm so excited. Mondays are my favorite day. So surgeries or not, procedures or not, outcomes or not, we keep going forward, right? We go forward in faith and we do what we got to do. So Pastor Coleman is in the waiting room, so I'm about to let him in. Super excited to talk to him today. And so, if you see that my energy is a little dragging today, that is what it is. I will try to keep myself high energy for you, but I also want to be my authentic self. So let's go ahead and get Pastor Coleman in the room here. All right, he's coming on in here. So get him all set up. How you doing, Pastor Coleman?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How's life treating you?
Good, man. I'm taking it one day at a time. What about yourself?
About the same. I was just telling the audience that I've been having some medical issues, so I went in for a scope on my throat, and they found a hiatal hernia, and then they decided to do a colonoscopy since I'm getting up there in age. Not quite ready yet, but they found a tumor on there, so we'll find out what happens in a couple of weeks when I go back. So, it's just got to go in there and figure out what's going on,
Yeah, man, you got to have those things done. You're still getting up there in age, man.
Yeah, that's a true story. I hate the doctor, and, Dad, basically he had to be dying to go to the doctor. So, it's like, you're all right. Go ahead and shake it off. So that's kind of how it was for us. But, as black men, we do have to be proactive and not reactive with our medical health.
Absolutely, man. I had that colonoscopy, man, and you just got to get it done.
You almost made me spit my tea out.
Yeah. It's not nothing that we run into the doctor for, but it's got to be done, man. Especially with us, black men, and those are some of the things that really kind of taking us out. That we don't get examined, enough,
Mm-hmm.
and because we're not getting examined enough, I think we're paying for it. We're losing, our people every day, man. And so I would tell every man out there, man, especially black men, man, look, you need to go to the doctor, man, every year.
Yeah.
Go get that checked out, everything checked out, man. And whether he needs it or not, and that colonoscopy, I think, is every 5 years, I think it is, depending on your age, it might be every 10 years, but get it done, man. You may be saving your own life, but it's something that needs to be done.
Those are facts too. And, they say you need to be proactive and not reactive. And if you go in, oftentimes they can catch it. And there's so many stories of folks that are like, late stage this and late stage that. And it's like, man, if you had come in 6 months earlier, we could have done something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's like, go to the doctor. Whether you feel good or not, like you said, get that checkup every year. So you got people that care about you, and you need to be around for them. If nothing else, do it for yourself, but for sure.
Yeah, and that's part of our responsibility, man. As a black man, as a father, as a man, that's your responsibility. If nobody else, you should at least care about yourself, man, and make yourself go in there and get it done, man.
Well, preach. So, I'm just gonna kind of read your short bio that you gave because you're a very humble person. And so, I asked folks to just say a couple words, and you just simply stated, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a pastor who's retired from 32 years working at Kitsap Transit, and a U.S. veteran. So I'm thinking I'm going to get this dossier on you, and it was just, it's just a few things like, look, this is who I am. I'm very humble, so, go for it. So, tell for how did you get into finding yourself being a pastor of a church? How does that happen?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, first of all, Marwan, for taking this time, allowing me to be able to come and to be a part of your show. And matter of fact, I mentioned it to my wife. I said, we'll be doing this interview with Marwan and Reverend Cameron's son, and she said, "Well, why you?" I say, I don't even know. I don't even know. but and I really appreciate it. And but I come here, originally I'm from Louisiana. Okay, and I grew up in Louisiana. Grew up by with a grandmother, like most young brothers from the South. Grew up there. Went through grade school, high school, and all that, and then after high school, worked a job and decided to join the U.S. Army. Went in the Army for 6 years total, and I got out. I was stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Man, I was in Kentucky. And, the big change going from Louisiana to Kentucky. And then after I got out the military, I had a cousin up here, named Pastor Robinson. His name is Floyd Robinson. And my family background is all of my uncles were preachers, man. Grandfathers, preachers. All those guys were. And so I grew up around the church. I cut my teeth on the church, man. And so when I got to the military, I came up here looking for a job. Came here, looking for employment. My cousin said, "Man, you know how to weld," and he said, "Why don't you apply for the shipyard, man? Since you know how to weld, you can probably get a job in the shipyard." At that time, I went to the Mount Zion Church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. That's where Pastor Rochelle was the pastor.
Right.
And that's how long. And I think that's where I met your dad. I met Reverend Cameron at the Mount Zion Church. That's been years ago, man. I've been on your dad over 30 years. And so I applied for the shipyard. Never even got an interview, man. I know how to weld and everything, man. But never got an interview. Wow. And so Pastor Rochelle told me at that time to apply at Kitsap Transit. And now, mind you, down south, we hardly ever ride a bus, man, and nevertheless driven a bus. But I was in the military, so I know how to drive a bus. And so I got hired as a bus driver. Everybody that normally get hired at Kitsap Transit get hired part-time. That's everybody, get hired part-time. And so after about 2 weeks, I told the guys I need a full-time job. And they said, "Well, there's a full-time job in the maintenance department." I said, where's the maintenance department? I go to the maintenance department. had no idea what this is, man. And go to the maintenance department, and I said, man, I need a full-time job, and they hired me on as a fueler. That's a person that when the buses comes in, of course, in the evenings, making sure the bus is all ready to go for the next day.
Gotcha.
And so at the same time, I was working at Kitsap Transit, but I was still going to Olympic College. At that time, Olympic College had a football team, and so
Now you really talking about the way back now.
Yeah, I'm going back, man. I won a football scholarship at Olympic College, and so I'm going to Olympic College, on their dime, and I'm working at Kitsap Transit in the evenings, man. And so I'm doing this, and at the same time I was still going to the church at Mount Zion, and I think after a while, I'm not sure, Olympic College kind of dropped their funding or some kind of way. I can't remember exactly, man. It's been a while back for the football program. And so I continued to work at Kitsap Transit. And at Mount Zion, I started preaching at Mount Zion. This was 1986, man. I don't know, how old you were at that time, but how old are you not? How old are you right now?
I'm 48.
48, okay. Yeah, see, I'm going to be...
Uh-oh. So it sounds like we got a disconnect there. So we'll go ahead and reconnect with Pastor Coleman. So, the devil's going to do his work. Of course, we've been actually rocking and rolling just super smooth with no issues. And then here comes the devil. So, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to go ahead and let this come back on in. Man, I love listening to people's stories. And it's so very critical for us to hear these stories because, folks are in these positions and it's like how we see the finished product and it's like, well, how did you ascend to be in this place where you are a pastor of the church, you have this flock of folks that are following you, that are trusting in you, and then you hear very humbled stories, right? Coming from Louisiana, joining the Army, coming to Bremerton, looking for work, coming up with family. Not only that, going and taking a job at Kitsap Transit because you couldn't get into the shipyard, going to OC at the same time that you're working at Kitsap Transit, joining the football team on a football scholarship, losing that scholarship, and then, there's a piece in the middle that we'll get to. But now you're the pastor of Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church. It's just so very powerful. And a lot of times conversations that I have with folks, yeah, I lost you, but we're back. And I'm just kind of just updating folks because if we lose the feed, it's still recording. So I'm just talking about how important and how impressive your story is because it's young people often see the finished product, right? They see Pastor Coleman, running this church, having a flock in this congregation that follow him, and listening to your story. It's like a lot of regular folk, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Young black men and women that are out there just, trying to figure it out and survive, and this can be the end result. And so it's important for them to hear those stories because they just see the finished product and they don't see themselves in you or in me or whatever the case may be. So sharing those stories are powerful. So thank you so much for that. We're just going to go ahead and get ourselves back on to Facebook really quick, and then we will continue on.
Okay.
Diane West says, come back. So it looks like we are back on Facebook. So go ahead and pick up where you were, Pastor. You were saying.
Yeah, and I was 23 years old. I was 23 years old and we started a Bible study group, and that group Bible study grew. And so we acquired a building. We bought a building on National and Madrona. Matter of fact, the same building that I was able to purchase was the same building that Bishop Lawrence Robinson owned when he started.
Oh,
really? I don't know if anybody know that. Bishop Lawrence Robinson, who pastored, the Emmanuel Apostolic Church, he started in the same building that I started in. Or I started after he did. And so And that's on National and Madrona. So that building, he was in that building, in the choir that building for. In fact, I pastored that church for 14 years. And then because we had a group of everybody in there, man. We had, you know, multiracial groups. We had every race you can think of. And matter of fact, your dad used to come over and play the piano sometime for us. And and then from there, I pastored that church 16 years. But when I was 23 years old, my wife, who's my wife now, she used to play the piano at the Sinclair Baptist Church. That's how I met my wife. I met my wife because the pastor at the time, he used to invite me to come over and preach for them. And I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pastor introduced me to my wife. And so that's how I met Eileen. And so after a while, man, we didn't even date long. We must have went together about, I don't know, 6-8 months, and we got married.
That was it.
6-8 months, man. We've been married 35 years coming up in May.
Wow.
And so after about serving at the church on National Madrona after 14 years, the very same pastor that introduced me to my wife, he had passed away and the church had become vacant. And of course, then the church asked me to come over to Sinclair. So that's how I ended up at Sinclair.
Gotcha. Okay.
I used to go over there and preach when I was younger, when I was 23, man. I'm getting ready to make 60.
Woo.
So that tell you how long I've been around here.
Yeah, for sure.
How long I've been around here. And so, and matter of fact, this next month we'll be celebrating being at Sinclair Baptist Church 16 years, man.
16 years.
16 years at the Sinclair Church. So I done made a complete circle. I've seen a lot of things around here, and a lot of growth. A lot of things are seen for the positive.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a lot of the elderly that that I knew and your dad knew. A lot of those are gone. All those individuals are pretty much gone. Because when I first came here, man, this area was full of a lot of elderly people, a lot of wisdom, a lot of people who had came here, to work in the shipyard and made bought homes here and developed their families and everything. And I think one of the things that we don't see much now is a lot of those elders, like it had at that time, trying to import on a lot of other younger people, because young people need to be able to see people who are stable. They need to be able to see people, who take care of their families, and they need to see people in school that look like them. Because see, your dad was a principal.
Yes.
And so it was very important that young people see a Black principal. It's very important that a young person see a Black business owner. And I think it was very important for them to be able to feel like they was part of something, part of a culture. And I think that gave them support. And of course, when you went to the church, man, that anything you did in the church, that made you feel like somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so they connected with the church, man, especially if you come from the South.
Right.
You're going to connect with the church because that's what you did. You went to church. And so by going to the church, you learn to connect with other different people, different social program, whatever it was that was going on out there, you was able to connect to that through the church. But now, man, what you see now is people don't, it's a sad thing, but people now, they don't connect to the church, the very foundation that what unified us. We don't connect to that now. We just, now it's a whatever. And that's where I think we are losing. We are losing the family unit. We are using a lot of the role models. We're losing a lot of the, of course, our ancestors who, the thing that they taught us, a lot of those values, man, are not being passed down. And that's one of, I guess, the grievous things for me is to see a lot of those values, the thing that we made a priority are not being passed down. And the result is what you're seeing now. And that's one of the scariest part. that I see. But anyway, to answer your question, how did I become a minister? I've been doing this about, since I was 23. So, and I'm still doing, I'm still here.
Well, Pastor Coleman, I mean, you kind of, went there. Is that okay if we kind of go down this kind of line of questioning? It's something
Yes,
that
sir.
has really kind of baffled me. Like you said, my dad went to Mount Zion, so when I came to Bremerton, I didn't come with the family. I wasn't connected with the family at that time. I came well later, and so Pastor Michelle at the time was still pastor that Mount Zion, and for me, it's an older congregation, so it's like Dad, they're kind of old, and we need a younger church and this and that.
Right.
But I think, and I'll speak for myself, me as a younger person kind of feel disenfranchised by the black church and don't feel like there's really a place and a space. So, there are several black churches here in the community, and I don't belong to any of them. I've worked with, Pastor Mack and Pastor Rose, because our buildings are a block away. So we got some synergy there. We're trying to do some street ministry and do that. But, talking with a lot of, black men that are around my age or younger do kind of feel disenfranchised by the church. And, there's a lot of prosperity preaching, and it just seems like it's kind of catered to, kind of third and fourth wave feminism. And black men are kind of taking a back seat, and they don't seem to be getting fed. What is that something that you see? Is it? Do you have a counter narrative to that? And if you do agree or disagree with that, what could be done to improve it anyway? Either way,
right. I would say that when it comes to the church, and I think, of course, the church have gotten away from so many of the core values. I think that, and I think a person have to feel connected, because if you don't feel connected to it, you're not gonna put anything in it, and you're just not. You're not going to be involved in it. If you want the church to be the church, it still have to, you still have to have standards, and still have to have, we continue to let it be the church, but at the same time, it can still be inclusive. We can still change we can still keep the message, but our method may be different. Of course, you think about this. I got some younger people in the church. These are, got a bunch of these young ones in there. But at the same time, with all these young people, I can't, have these young people in front of the church and just be singing, a lot of the old hymns, and those young children, they don't know but that, man. They're not gonna stay with that.
They don't want the old Negro spirituals.
That's right. They're not ready for that. They want to hear some Kirk Franklin. They want to stomp, man. That's what they want to do. But at the same time, you can allow them to do that. You may change the method, but the message stays the same. And I think when you want the church to be the church, we're not going to change the message, but I think some things where you make people feel included, no matter who a person may be, no matter what color they are, no matter what their background may be, you're still a part of the church. You're still a part of what Christ died for. And I think when we lose that, and then the focus then be on more of the pastor's personality, and people flock to the pastor's personality rather than focusing on the church.
Right.
And I think when we keep the main thing, and but when we lose that, it get lost in so many, things. Like, matter of fact, it'll get lost into the pastor personality, and folks will get more attached to the pastor. And then when they get mad at the pastor, and then they disconnect from the church, they don't give to the church. But if I'm connected to the church, if I'm connected to that, let that be my main thing. If I keep that focus, and so what we try to do is we try to gear things to trying to cater to, my heart is missions. Okay, my heart is being able to help somebody a mission to Haiti. We have a ministry that do that. I've taken people over there to Haiti with me and let them see that we need to support this, and
Nice.
whether it's helping somebody in the streets or help them to do better, to recover. That's where my heart is at. Helping those who have fallen through the cracks, man, and how can I help them to do better? We got a feeding program. Okay, I know I can't feed everybody, but I can feed somebody.
Right.
And
Right.
so, being able to do that, clothing ministry, all those things like that, trying to be able to help somebody else. We partner with Coffee Oasis to feed homeless teens. Think about that. That don't even sound right. Homeless teens.
I know it.
But yet we have it. We have homeless teens. When I was a young boy, man, the only thing I was worried about, man, that we have milk for my Cheerios. That's all I worried about, man. But now, man, when you got homeless kids, man, I went down there, man, and they got kids. I'm talking 12, 13 with everything on their back.
Yeah.
You got girls, man, I'm talking pushing baby strollers with a baby, and she might be 14 or 15.
Right.
And this is reality. And so how do we help these? What can we do to help them? What can we do to, of course, we want them to come to church, but at the same time, we got to be able to kind of meet that need. And so, and that's what, that's some of the things I guess that I want to do, or that I kind of push our church in that direction of trying to minister to the whole person. Not just talk about church, of course, but deal with the person. They got, deal with their emotions, deal with their physical needs, their financial needs, teach them how to manage their money, show them how to manage their money. And so all of those things, man, is just trying to minister to the whole person. One of the things that I guess for me is that what you see is what you get.
Gotcha.
What you see on Monday gonna be what you're gonna see on Sunday, what you're gonna see on Saturday, and what you're gonna see on Wednesday. You know what I mean? It's and I think that's what Christ calls us to sacrifice and be a blessing to somebody else, to be able to help somebody else. But that's what the direction I try to push the church into, and I think we have an awesome group of people, and so yeah, that's the direction that they allow me to be able to lead in.
So Pastor Coleman, you spoke about homeless teenagers, and there are scores of them. This isn't just one or two. This is
right.
80, 90, plus
Yes.
kids that are out there, and different tenants that are out there. I know there was a camp behind the Walmart before they started tearing that down, and one side was adults and the other side was kids.
Right.
And they didn't mix very well, because they had to keep themselves safe. But like you said, the fact that existed when I first started, Gather Together, Grow Together, my niece was sleeping in her car outside of the old Taco Bell on Wheaton Way. Now it's a Mexican restaurant. And it was her and her boyfriend and a bunch of her other friends, all 20-somethings, just living in their cars and homeless. And it's just this kind of crisis that's kind of hidden, that you see the ones that are walking around and outside, the quote-unquote stereotypical face of homelessness. But homelessness has a lot of faces, right? Couch surfing, sleeping in your car, bouncing back and forth, being out, at the Salvation Army or the Rescue Mission or wherever. So that's people don't really see that. So just to kind of circle back, though, do you feel like right now that Black men or men in general seem to be disassociating from the church? Is that your experience or not?
Well, I would say when a person disassociated from the church, several things could have caused that. A person may have been hurt, of course, by somebody who may attend the church. A lot of times, people say, well, the church hurt me. No, the church didn't hurt you. Maybe another alto in the choir might have hurt you, but the church didn't hurt you. It might have been another deacon or another minister. that might have hurt you, but not the church. And so people, they step back from associating with, of course, with the church. And but I have a group of men that before this COVID hit, I meet with this group of men. I'm talking to 20 to 30 men every Saturday. I'm talking not one Saturday, 4 or 5 Saturdays a month. We would meet every Saturday. And so, and what that did was it helped, other men, it gave other men support.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about men issues. It was just men in this class. It was a men class. It dealt with men issues. We had some guys that were a little younger. Of course, you had some, that guys that 25 and up age group. And I think we shared our experiences because all of us come from different places. All of us come from different backgrounds. Man, you had a large, a large background of people. You had military people who were retired. You had people who were professional people. You had military people. So, and I think we was able to draw and support each other on a weekly basis. And I think holding each other accountable, if you're going to be a man, if you're going to be, be married, as a man, this is how you treat your wife and your kids. Now, if you don't have nobody, if you're 25, man, and if you don't have nobody telling you, how to, because you're going to have some bumps on the road. Doc, you're going to have some bumps. And so, but if you don't have nobody saying, listen, man, this is what I did. You got some guys that have been married over 50 years. He's able to say, this is how I handled it. Mm-hmm. This is something that I've done to help me get over this here. But if you're not connected to somebody that can give you some advice from an older perspective, mm-hmm. Doc, it's gonna be a lot of problems. Okay. And I think that's what we gave each other as our way of being able to hold each other accountable, become better men. We call each other kingdom men, and that's what we did. We were holding each other accountable. You're going to be responsible for your family. Of course, you're responsible first of all, to God, your church, and we're accountable to each other. And so I think one scripture comes to mind and says, as iron sharpens iron, so do one man sharpens another. And so we need that, man. Sure. I think when I stepped back from the church, I think I hurt myself, really. That's just me. I think I hurt myself. And of course, you don't want to, you want to use the stuff that's available to you. And so, I do think sometimes people step back from the church because of being hurt, mm-hmm. Or whatever may have transpired. They just kind of sometimes just step away.
Well, I'll tell you, Pastor, from my experience, and this isn't Sinclair, but there have been churches that I've attended. And mm-hmm. when I've come in, some folks will speak to you, but, other folks are kind of giving you the up and down, like, who are you and what you about and, what you doing here. And, like just that aura that you feel is like, oh, okay.
Right.
Or you come into the church and they are welcoming, but immediately it's like, well, what can you do for the church? And they immediately want you to start doing stuff for the church. And it's like, I'm just trying to figure out if this is a place that I can come and worship on a consistent basis and figure right. it out. I'm a busy person. And so, whatever discretionary time I have left, I don't necessarily want to feel obligated that now I have to right. give it up in that Absolutely. Way. And so it you kind of come in a guarded position. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It does. It absolutely makes sense. And, one of the things that I've learned is that many times, the church, and it's something that you can think about, many times, sometimes the church takes the personality of their pastor. Mm. And sometimes, not all the time, because remember, they're hearing him talk all the time. And so if the pastor's, mean and authoritative, the people are gonna be aggressive, kind of headstrong, and mm-hmm. And I think because I've seen it. Let me tell you something. When and just like you say, sometimes you may feel you walk in a church, and people look at you like, what do you want? or they be trying to size you up. Let me tell you something. I'm a pastor. I preached in a lot of churches. Sometimes I go to different churches. They look at me like that. Okay. They look at me. They look like, what are you doing here? But at the same time, you gotta say, man, I'm just here to serve, man. That's all I'm doing, man.
Mm-hmm.
And see, once I know who I am, I can go anywhere,
Right.
And I done preached at black and white churches, man. Because once you know who you are, I think, man, no matter where you go, see, the gospel is something that you should be able to preach the gospel anywhere.
Right.
If it's the gospel, I can preach that in Haiti. If it's the gospel, I'm not preaching about prosperity. See, if it's the gospel, I can preach that anywhere I go. It's the same gospel at the black church, the white church. My Native American brother, same thing. If it's the gospel, and so, and I think people just have to kind of, grow and develop, so you'll be confident enough to walk in that. And but I do understand, man. I know some people are aggressive. Some people are. I know that, man. I know that. I've been around here a while, man. And,
well, Pastor, I think you hit it. I think you hit it because you said that you know yourself. So, and even when you face it, because you know who you are, you're comfortable. I'm here to serve the Lord, and I'm not worried about y'all. God bless you. We're gonna keep it pushing. But for a lot of our young men and even our middle-aged men in our 40s, right, we're still trying to figure out who we are. And so we don't have that yet. And we're so desperate to find something that, like they say, you only get one time to make that first impression. So when they come in, if that's the impression, then, they've kind of cut their nose to spite their face, but they're just doing it based on, what they felt, and so they don't know that could have been, an army of 20 soldiers meeting together on a Saturday talking about issues and building each other up, right? So, man, I just love this conversation. I'm so glad that you took it there and you were open to talk about it, because I'm always concerned about folks feeling like, well, I don't want to, talk about this, that, and the other. Let's just stick to this, because, but this is powerful, because I think right now, COVID has shown us, if nothing else, with everything else going on, COVID, George Floyd, we keep getting these examples, but things are getting worse and worse and worse. We've got to find a way to come together as a community, build each other up, and go forward. We cannot wait on the federal government to try to help us out or bail us out. It's too little, too late, right? This $1,400 is going to be great for folks, but, folks needed way more than $1,400, and they needed it way back when.
Absolutely, man, absolutely.
So we've got to find ways to become, to build synergies and community where we are taking care of each other and building on our strengths to make our community run and operate. It's
absolutely.
Like there's so many black churches here. And I'm like, well, where's our credit unions? Where's our school? Where's our this and that? And I know there's some that exist, but it's like, man, we're so much more powerful together. How do we come together? And, you guys belong to, I can't remember what the group is, but I know I see you guys meet as pastors of the church. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. So, and
Bremerton African American Ministers Alliance. Mm-hmm. And that's the acronym for BAMA. Because only a few churches that are connected to BAMA. And that's our way of being able to say, look, man, there's only a few of us here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there are some things that, that we can do more together than we can do just as an individual. Back, in the 80s, of course, we were somewhat a little stronger, because here again, you have some of these older guys. They knew the importance and the value of being connected, being unified. Of course, they had, it has some issues as well, but we recognize, man, look, we need each other, man. I don't care who you are, man, you can't do it by yourself. St. Clair, you can't do it by yourself. Mount Zion, you can't do it by yourself. We need to be connected. Only a few of us here. And so we got to be connected. In the same question that you asked, Bro Cameron, is that, man, why don't we have why don't we even have a place where we can just gather?
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the goal we was talking about back then. And that's when, of course, I think Bishop Robinson. I'm talking years ago. So I was talking about, man, that center for the youth.
Right.
That Marvin Williams Center. And he was talking. Man, Bishop was talking about that, man, back in the '80s, man, the '90s. He was talking about that. And because he's seen the need. Of course, what you're saying. He's seen a need for at least be able to have a place where our kids can come and feel safe. They're not in the street. We got to give them another option to be able to help where they can come. Do like you say, have a place big enough, to be able to, if we wanted to have a wedding, man, I mean, if we wanted to have a big wedding, we got to go rent somebody.
Right.
We got to go rent somebody else's building.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to have something that where the community, I'm talking the community that can actually come and saying, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to, strategize this. But man, I'm telling you, the same question you asking, like I say, man, I was 23 asking that question.
Wow.
Yeah.
To go back on that, just to kind of change the subject for a second. Something that is so impressive about you and my father, right? You're 23, you're preaching. My father was 24 when he adopted me, never was married, and adopted more than 17 of us. And it's like, I couldn't even imagine. My maturity level at 24 was nowhere near,
right.
Adopting children, preaching. I mean, that is just something that's amazing. That's amazing.
Man, your dad is at the same time, he had adopted a lot of kids, man. And I remember him, your two sisters, man. One little light skinned one, Renita,
Jamie
and the other
and
little
Renita,
dark skinned one.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere your dad went, man, not a place we would go eat, whatever. Those girls, they're coming. They rolling right along, and he said Reverend Cameron had a certain, he had a certain thing about him, man. And that's the way he did. That's the way he did things. And so, but those are the things, Marwan, you don't see, man. And that's what we have lost. We have lost that being able to pass that down,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about this the other day, man. And I said I was 23, but now, man, I'm getting to be 60. So, man, I'm trying to. Man, I got to try to grab somebody young and say, listen, man, and that's what we got to do. We got to be able to, pass on what at least the little things that we know, because you don't want them to die with you. Because just like you're doing the show, man, and man, that got to be passed on. We got to be modeling that for somebody, because you're not gonna be on the scene all the time.
Right.
So when we're gone, our vision and everything died with us. That's a sad thing, man. And so being able to communicate and translate that over to somebody else. But then again, the young person got to be willing, man. You can't make them. They got to be willing to want to do that.
Well, to that end, I would like to kind of just put something out there for thought. On Friday, I have Minister Ellington is coming on.
Okay.
So he's going to come and interview. I got Minister Flood's going to come on. We're just trying to get it scheduled. And so we'll have folks kind of come on and talk. But what I would love to do is maybe create something bi-monthly. Maybe we do it every other week and just come on in this format with the leadership of the church and some of the secular organizations in the community, Black organizations, and just have conversations on finding ways that we could collaborate,
absolutely,
and start building that sense of community. And I think a lot of folks will feel like, I don't belong to the church. I don't, if I get some help from the church, whatever that resource might be, like you said, you feed folks, you clothe folks, and do things of that nature, then they need to kind of be connected, which isn't true, right?
Not at all.
So,
not at all.
Just trying to find ways to partner. And if we find ourselves in another situation, and we don't know how long this pandemic is going to be going on, but we know our folks have been suffering far before the pandemic came along.
Yes.
So, how do we, create some scales of economy with feeding our elderly or food insecure, clothing our folks, or trying to help our single mothers or low income families, or be that mentorship or help with entrepreneurship and things like that.
Absolutely.
Pull people out of the wilderness of being people have been isolated before the pandemic and alone.
Yes.
I've met so many people. I've
Absolutely.
been doing this a month, Pastor, and I've met folks that live less than a mile away from me, and doing great things and had no idea.
Right.
So I think that would be really powerful if you guys would be interested in doing that. And I think that's another thing is for the leadership to be accessible. So here you are on this podcast having a conversation, and it's like, oh man, he talks like a regular person, right? It's not all fire and brimstone, and you're not 30,000 feet. You're relatable and can have a conversation.
No, and I think Doc, you gotta, of course, we want to be able to, to meet other people and connect in the community, because man, this is all of us doing this thing together, man. It's never, like I said, we can do more together than individually, and I think I would like to, be able to connect, man. And there's resources out there, there are things. Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, like we have something we're doing right now at our church is that people who are 60 and above, 60 and above, we don't care who you are, we don't care where you live, we don't care how much you make, we're not going to ask you for your firstborn, we're not asking none of that. But here's what we want to do for you. We want to be able to provide you as a senior person within our community. Don't care what color you are, where you work, whatever. We want to be able to give you some of the essentials that can, that may be able to help you during this COVID time. Of course, man, we've been doing this for a year, right? Mm-hmm. This COVID, man, this have messed people up emotionally, mentally. I mean, financially. And so we're saying this just our way of being able to help you, at least to let you know you're not by yourself. Somebody care about you, man. You can make it. You just hold on a little while longer. You're going to come out of this. And so, and I'm just putting that out there for anybody who may be listening. That's for anybody. That's not just for somebody to go to Sinclair.
Right.
That's for somebody in the community. As long as you're in Kitsap County, that's for you. And so, but if people don't know that, and I mean, if
all right, so Pastor Coleman is getting it right now. I love what he's talking about. Programs for folks inside Kitsap County if you are 60 and above. So there are all these fantastic resources that exist. And, I'm really hoping as we get reestablished here that we are able to find a way to come together and really start, being able to serve folks. And it's one of the biggest issues that I see running my program, which is, folks have no idea the resources that do exist and that there are folks that are doing these things. And you know what? These people are there. They're there. They're doing it. And it's figuring out who it is, but it's also then disseminating the information. But more than that, it's making sure that the information gets to where it needs to go to, right? That its penetration is getting to the places that it doesn't normally get to. So that's something I think just having this conversation and listening to Pastor Coleman speak is that's the angle that I think I would be, best served in trying to do, right? So, each church, and I'll apologize if I leave you out, but we kind of talk about kind of like the big 3 or 4, Emmanuel, Sinclair, Mount Zion, New Horizon, and on and on. But if there is a way that we can, get that going, where they're serving their communities already. So if there is a way that we can get the other folks that aren't tied into the community, then I think that'll be really powerful. So Pastor Coleman, we got kicked off again, but we're back on now. So,
Okay.
like I said, the devil tries,
Yes,
So-
sir. Yes, sir.
tries but won't win. Before you continue on, we got a lot of folks in the chat saying stuff, and so I want to read those things off and honor them. Cynthia Brady says, "Hey, Pastor." She's at work, but she's listening in.
That's Miss Cynthia. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Diana West said, "Come back when we first got kicked off." She said, "I was all into Pastor Coleman's story." Cynthia says, "Yes, indeed." Julianne Cooper says, "Pastor Frankie knows." Kendra Witten says, "My other dad." And says, "Love you both," and says, "Still young." Diane says, "Need a plan of succession." And Cynthia says, "So true. And our young men need that, not just in the church, but those outside the church. I find myself counseling women outside of my work and outside the church." And Kendra says, "Yes, we need that." So I wanted to catch up on the chats because they were going fast and furious. So
Gotcha.
but yeah, that's a really big deal. So you were saying if you're over 60, there's services that are available that Sinclair provides inside the county to folks.
Right.
Which
Yeah. So if they know of it, if they know of anyone that that can use some essentials during this COVID, they can contact. I don't have the number with me right now, but they can contact our church.
Okay.
Contact our church, and if they leave a number, whatever, we'll make sure that we get back to them, and I'll make sure Mr. Ruthie Jones kind of get their name, get their information, man, and they don't even have to come get it. We bring it to them, man.
Oh.
We bring it to you and set it at your door and walk away from you, man. And you don't have to come get it. And
That's
so you just kind of let us know you need it. That's all. And so, that's just one thing that I think, and that's for anybody.
All right.
Got to be sick, at least 60. We could want to be a blessing to the elderly. But we do go feed some homeless. We still go on Sundays, man, evening, and we go down there by that 7-Eleven and until they kind of run us away from down there, man. We go down there and we do some feeding too. So no, I think I remember when I first went to Sinclair and I told them, man, if you call yourself Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church, if you're not gonna do the mission, let's take the sign down. So let's do it. So and they follow that vision, man, and I couldn't be more proud of the ministry that they're doing within that mission. Minister Ruthie Jones lead that mission ministry. Mm-hmm. They got men and women, different races, different group, different ages that see the need, and so they're part of that ministry, man.
Well, I know pre-COVID, you guys had, I guess you do kind of like a giveaway. It's clothing, but it's other stuff too. And so we were actually bringing folks up through our organization, and had wheelchairs, and it was huge. Yeah. It was like there was definitely stuff up there for everyone to come.
And so I think that's the next. Of course, we wasn't able to do it, 2020 because of the COVID. Mm-hmm. But we still was able to give away like school supplies and stuff like that. Be able to minister to the kids. But that's something that we've been doing for the last several years, and it's our way of being able to give back to the community. We want to be a church in the community that have a heart for the community. Mm. And so that's where we are. And we want to be a blessing to them. One of the questions I always ask our church is that if Sinclair was no longer here, would the community miss us? Mm. And that's something that they have to take away. So if the community don't miss us, we're not doing our job.
Wow.
And so they get behind that and they support that because they see how the value of being able to be in the community, but still got to have a heart for the community.
For sure. Now, I'm at your website, Pastor Coleman. Does 373-3170 sound right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. If you are over 60, please go ahead and give them a call. Their email is there too, and they will absolutely take care of you. So we want you to have this information. And, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I didn't know this. That you guys provided that service. And so we have several folks that we serve in the community that are over 60. So kind of having that information And so it's incumbent upon myself. Because I always like to put it on me. It's like, okay, so you can point out a deficiency that exists, but then what you gonna do about it? You know, so I'm about what I'm gonna do about it, and this is what I can do about it.
Right. And I think, man, I'm telling you, I think that's why this is so important. Here's a number. Of course, give them our church number, but also give them this number also, 360 990 6311. They're gonna reach Minister Ruthie Jones, and you just let she's gonna ask them their name and wherever they live at, and they're gonna put it together.
All right.
And so yeah, they can contact either one of those numbers, and I think our church email's on that, at Sinclair, NBC.org. You can give them that, and
should I call it a package of love? What? How do you describe it?
A bundle blessing.
A bundle blessing.
We call that a bundle blessing. We give this in a large plastic container with all the stuff in it, and we don't even want the large container back. We want to give you that.
They keep the container too.
We're going to give you that too. Brand new. We're going to give you that too. So we're going to bless you with a bundle and a bucket and a basket.
Oh, hey, there's nothing wrong with a container. You can always use a container.
That's right, man. Hey, man, these are some nice containers, man.
So, yeah, no, I love that. I think it's powerful. I think it's really powerful. Well, let's jump into some of these questions here, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, absolutely. So I'm Marwan Cameron. You are watching The Conduit. Tonight, my guest is Pastor Reverend Frankie Coleman of Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church, and we're having a riveting conversation about community and collaboration. And so very blessed to have you with us today. And so our first question is, what does Black History Month mean to you, or just kind of Black history as a whole?
Well, I guess for me, one is that it's a reminder. Of course, that we have set aside the month of February, but it's a reminder of all the things, of course, that our ancestors, a lot of the elderly, have contributed to build this country. And I think it's a time to spotlight people who, man, made great, contribution to this country. Just matter of fact, just even in Birmingham, it gives us an opportunity to be able to say, okay, man, there are people who done things in this city, even though they may no longer be here, but I think they need to be acknowledged for that. And I think during that, Black History Month, just say for instance, like Loxie Egan's, right? People heard of Loxie Egan's, but they wonder, like, who is that? Well, Loxie Egan's was a member of Sinclair, man. He was Loxie Egan's was a member of Sinclair. He was, I don't know if you know Miss Phyllis Molina. That's her father. And so this guy was very active in his community, and of course, that street was named after him. And so it just the contribution that people have made in this city, even like your father, just being an African American principal. Man, I was trying to think the other day. I don't know no other African American male principal in this area that it had here. So I guess those things, for me, it's the time that we kind of remember the thing that a lot of our African American has contributed to our community. And looking back, of course, we acknowledge the major ones like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Thurgood Marshall, all of those. Right. But man, now, there are people right here in the city, I don't know if you know I thought about Miss Janice Willis. Miss Janice Willis been teaching in the school system, man. Think about this here, over 40 years, and she's still teaching.
Wow.
40 years, man. You know, and she go to St. Clair. And so I want to say that people have, made great contribution to this community. And I think Black history to me means we got to take time to acknowledge that.
Mm.
Don't let that be forgotten. And I think a lot of our young kids, of course, need to know, you know, some of the contribution that we have made to this community, you know, because at the same time, it's like we're running our leg, but at the same time, the young people, man, they have to continue to run their leg. And so they got to build on what we have tried to, lay before them. And if they're not building on that, man, they're failing us, man. And that's what's so heartbreaking when you see stuff like young people, not wanting to stay in school, not wanting to achieve, not taking advantage of all these opportunities, man, that's out there. And to see that, and to see them going the opposite direction, man, that's heartbreaking, man.
Well, and Pastor, it's so much harder now. I mean, there's always been distractions that existed, but now with social media and smartphones and everything else, it just is so difficult, so much more difficult now.
Yes, my kids are older now, but them, and so it's double. But our people are the most resilient people in the world, so bring it on.
That is facts for sure. Facts for sure. So we talked about homelessness. What can be done about homelessness, either at a national level or here at a local level? What are your thoughts on that?
Of course, I would have to say, of course, provide housing. And I kind of somewhat was able to watch for a couple of minutes the other night when you had a young lady who was homeless, and I guess she was sleeping in a car. And I kind of listened for a little bit, and man, there was just so many things that where it seemed like on one hand, where the system may have failed her, and it did, of course, there was some responsibilities that she may have had. But of course, man, one scripture come to mind is that the poor, the homeless, Matthew 25, you're going to have them with you always. You're going to have them. But at the same time, Jesus made a statement. He said, when you've done it to the least of them, you've done that to me. So what can we, and that's something that each individual will have to ask themselves, what can I do? What am I doing? Of course, we know they need housing, they need health care. They got to get access to different social services. We have the homeless. How you gonna get access?
Right.
How you gonna get a job if you don't have you don't have a mailing address? You're homeless. You're sleeping in the car. You can't get your uniform, whatever, together. Even going to school, you can't get your homework because you're homeless. You're sleeping in the parking lot, but you don't have access to the Wi-Fi. I mean, it's just one after another.
Right.
And so, and I think each one of us, man, of course, those services that are provided, of course, we would hope that they would access that. But then again, each individual will have to ask themselves, what can I do? What can I do? But I think in the long run, it almost would take you can take one person at a time, man, and you got to actually model this. You got to grab them, help get them on their feet, and then walk them step by step through this system. And you almost have to do it, you almost have to do it like I do the verses in the Bible. I preach them one verse at a time. And so that's the way you got to do people, man, because, man, I mean, the challenge of, I've seen some success stories, believe me.
Yes.
I've seen many successes. But then when you have the breakdown of the family, I think that's a problem. Families don't have a support system. Where I come from, Juan, is that, man, in my family, it just seemed like we wasn't gonna let you be homeless, Doc. That just ain't gonna happen. The family gonna rally around you and say, hold on a second, Doc. You're a Coleman, man. You don't hold on. You don't go out like that. You
Right.
know, so the family would have to embrace that. But now, man, many of the families are hands off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So um, if the teen is not taught, if they're not taught when they're a teen, they're just gonna grow up to be an adult who's irresponsible. And so it just, man, it's a problem that's ongoing, man. You know, it's ongoing, and so I think it's take programs like what you're doing and what we're trying to do is, you know, of course, that's just a little drop, man, and it's an ongoing problem with the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to remember, these are people. You can't give up on them.
Right.
You know, they're people. You got to help them, help the ones that want to be helped, and then there's some that may not want to be helped. But you got to help the ones that do want to be helped.
And a lot of folks I think do want help. To that end, looks like Congress isn't gonna do anything with the $15 minimum wage. But what is your thought on that? Would that help? Would that make a change? You hear the other side that talk about businesses will be hurt, they may close or have to lay off staff. What's your thoughts on $15 minimum wage?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm all for 15. I'm all for $15 an hour minimum wage, man. Cause you think about it, $15 an hour, man. Even with $15 an hour, and if you getting paid $15 an hour and you got rent $1,500 a month, think about that,
Mm-hmm.
man. You already behind. You already behind the poverty level, man. I don't really, man. I was thinking about this shit. I don't know how people are making it now, really, because if you're making, let's say $10 an hour,
Yeah.
man, that gotta be hard. And you got a family, you gotta pay rent, you gotta eat, you gotta have, you gotta pay your bills. I don't, I guess for me, first personally, I would support the $15 an hour, and I understand it, of course. On the other hand, you got to look at different businesses. They may say, okay, businesses won't last; they're gonna go out of business. But then again, what I would do, I have to look at it state by state, because $15 an hour here is just a drop in the bucket. Now, $15 an hour in Louisiana, where I'm from, now things looking a little bit better. So I would have to look at it state by state, and
Gotcha.
and be able to look at that way, because each state is different. The cost of living is different. Um, but overall, myself, I would support $15 an hour.
Well, let me share this with you, and you tell me what you think. Because someone else shared that your thought too, and they said, well, it depends on the state, right? Louisiana, Alabama, places like that, the cost of living is going to be cheaper. But when we talk about minimum wage, we kind of talk about it in an abstract, where we just say or generalize it, right? Oh, you got rent, you got bills, you got this, you got that. $15 an hour, 40 hours a week is $600 a week. Times two is 1,200, right? And you times
Mm-hmm.
that by two, that's going to be 2,400. If you multiply that by 20% for taxes and everything else, they're basically going to take home about $1,960, a month. And we
Right,
know that the rents here, like you said, 1,500, 1,400. Even if we said $1,100, right? That's going to leave those folks with about $800. They got to feed themselves. They got to do their
yep,
transportation, their cell phone, their internet, toiletries for the kitchen, for the bathroom, everything that they need, laundry detergent, and
right,
it's not enough. But then you want them to save and have a retirement and, pay their car insurance and pay their student loans. There's just not enough. And so what I would submit, where here $15 an hour won't be enough here, even in New Orleans, I would say, or Louisiana, should be 15, because you need to get folks to a point where they can actually save money. They can actually have
absolutely,
that rainy day fund, buy the new tires, fix that starter or the alternator, get a down payment on another car. If you don't raise it, then they kind of just stuck where they're at, right? And you could tell them to get
right,
another job or go to school or do this and that, but it's just not that easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it.
right. And of course, I strongly support the $15 an hour. Um, Man, it's that even now I can't understand how people are surviving now. And that's why I think, man, having extra resources available to people, you know, even, a meal, getting access to meals. We even support, that feeding program I think David Stewart has on
Mm-hmm.
downtown there.
New Day.
We support.
Pastor Coleman seems like he's got his signal is not super strong right now. This time it's not me. So you are watching the Conduit with Marwan Cameron. Our guest tonight is Pastor Frankie Coleman from Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church. So as soon as his connection comes back on, we'll go ahead and let him finish his thought. This is an excellent conversation tonight. Shaylin is in the house. She says, yes, more than a livable wage is needed. Kendra says that she misses concessions. Concessions is back. Our first game is next month. So please do reach out to us if you want to attend. And what's nice about, CenturyLink, at least, one, they're very COVID conscious. So each stand will only have about 4 to 5 people. So we'll probably set folks up into pods. And, those games are a lot shorter than the NFL games because soccer is only 90 minutes. And now they've gone to a cashless, system up there. So it just makes it even a lot easier. So, yes, if you are interested in joining us for concessions, do reach out. As things open up and more people get vaccinated, we will hopefully get back to whatever the new normal is. And so they're talking about, we've got our Sounders, and if we're doing the Sounders, sounds like we'll definitely be doing the Seahawks and other things here. So let me go ahead and let Pastor Coleman back in here. All right. All right, Pastor Coleman. This time it was you.
It was me?
Yeah, this time it was you.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay.
Well, I can see your signal strength. Your signal strength dropped all the way to 0. So,
okay.
But it's all good. Yeah, just come on back in.
Yeah, and so we were talking about, and I think that's why those programs like what you have, and I think where people can get access to meals, you figure if you can get access to meals and whatever resources that may be available, somewhat you would hope that, man, because actually they are not making enough money to be able to pay rent and then have all these other things done. So they have to be able to try to take advantage of all these other little things, hopefully to be able to cut some of the expenses that they may have, man. And of course, I love to see them, get 15. I love to see them get, at least 20, 22. Of course, I think the way the government looking at that, they're looking at it, of course, it's not going to be just a straight 15 right away. I think they're looking at, 10, then they go to 12, and then they go to 13, in increments like that.
Right. It was going to phase in up until 2025. So this wasn't even going to be a quick adjustment, which by the time they got to 15, you would need 30. So, yeah. And they were saying that the true minimum wage should be somewhere around $28 an hour. If they actually were to just make it right, that's where it would be. So we're never going to hit that, not even close.
Okay.
You've got folks on both sides that are resistant to raising it, which is why we're here now.
Okay.
But as we continue on, what do you feel about the vaccine? We've got now this Johnson & Johnson 1 dose out there. We've got several different variants. We have some states that are starting to open up. Other states are still kind of opening up slowly. We got spring break. What are your thoughts overall about the vaccine? And is it something that you feel comfortable with? What do you want to share about that?
Well, I would say, I guess one of the drawbacks with the vaccine is education. For our people, for Black people who look like me, education and then access.
Gotcha.
For me, it's something that I really had to pray about, because I had to have peace with it. And so think it was last week ago, my wife and I, we had our first shot, right?
Okay.
The Pfizer vaccine. We taken the first shot. I think the second shot is supposed to be like the 25th. I think it is. And I understand, people, the reservation people have. I understand, and I also respect that and support their decision. And so here's what I tell people at the people that I lead at Sinclair. Of course, I told them that that's something that Pastor Coleman and Eileen, that's what we did. That's what we prayed about. That's the peace that I have with that. I tell people now you got to pray, and have peace with what God wants you to do. And whatever decision that you choose, I support that. I'm not going to tell you, just because I got it, to go get it. No, I'm going to say that's something that you got to decide. And I support and respect your decision.
Right.
But I think that because there are lack of education and for a lot of our people, lack of access. Of course, man, I understand the reservation of, what happened a couple years ago. And so I understand that. But I guess for me, I've taken the first vaccine shot. And so, so right now, I just got to wait and take the second one. and so that's where I'm at with the vaccine. And because at the same time, I want to be safe. And of course, I want to be safe, but also I want to protect the other people as well.
Right.
One of the last things I would want to do is to infect somebody else, and that's the same thing. My church haven't been open. My church have been doing streaming for a whole year. I preach on Sunday. That's going Facebook and YouTube and all that. Same thing with Bible study. That's Facebook and YouTube. I've been doing that the whole year. I still haven't opened up.
Gotcha.
And so what I mentioned yesterday is that on Easter Sunday, I'll do a parking lot service. Easter, that's a big day for everybody. Anybody want to come, you come in the parking lot. We're going to set I'll come out, I'll preach outside, whatever. So everybody who can come and want to feel a part, and at the same time, we'll be able to take the Lord's Supper and, that kind of thing. That way, everybody have an opportunity. And then, moving forward, I'll take 20 to 25 people. Our church now have more seating capacity. And so I can have 25 people. I can have, according to the guidelines, I can have 75, but I say 25.
Right.
And so I want to take 25 people because I want them to be safe, man. That's my main thing. I need you to be safe. You gotta wear masks. We're gonna, I got enough room to set you out 6 feet apart. Families you can sit together, but 25 people, and you got to sign in you got to sign in, call in, and all that to do that. Because my main thing is I got to keep you safe.
Right.
And of course, I want to be safe, and I need to keep you safe. And so, and we're gonna do that. Just moving forward is just see how we do. 25 people, and then the people that I have, that helped me to record that. That's all we're gonna do. And an opportunity, give everybody an opportunity to be able to come at least once or twice a month. And we're still gonna do the streaming stuff. So, man, I'm not ready to put people at that big a risk right now. Because the virus is still out there. And so I need to be. My main thing is I need to keep you safe. Now, some people don't care anyway, man. So, but I got to be able, because I'm the one that got to give account, man. And so I need to keep you safe. That's my main thing. And one of the last things, of course, you would want to do is, get some older person out there, man, and get sick or whatever. And, I done did, since this COVID started, I done did funerals, man. And, not just people at Sinclair, but I done did funerals for preachers. And so, and that's, you have a preacher who have a funeral, man, with just his wife and just, 3 kids and 4 grandkids. And that's,
wow,
man, that's heartbreaking.
That is.
A time like this here that, when you would want to be and need to be more um, connected and more, intimate with people, you can't.
Hmm.
And so I'm not willing to take that risk, man. Um, I would do this gradually. I'm a slow walker, me, man. I'm gonna do this thing slowly, man. And so,
Well,
so
Pastor,
we're gonna gradually move
I
it
think
that
it's
way.
counterintuitive. Folks are looking at it like, we want to reopen, we want to reopen. You got the government and US citizens that are so reactionary instead of proactive. And they open
Yeah,
up and you just watch the trend, right? So, 4th of
yeah.
July, here comes the spike. Memorial Day,
Oh
Labor
man.
Day, here comes the spike. Thanksgiving, here comes the spike. And it's like, look, if you just stay steadfast for a little while, be still,
Yeah.
just be still.
Exactly.
You actually open
Exactly.
up faster because we can get a handle on it and, get the vaccine and kind of go forward. So it's counterintuitive. But I tell you what, my dad, if he was here, he's very practical and he would say, son, go where you're not wanted, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you look and see who's getting the vaccine, where they cheating and lying and doing all kinds of things, you got folks dressing up in disguise to get this
Right.
vaccine. You've got, the most expensive zip codes in the nation getting the vaccine. So if I look at it from that and try to cut through all the noise of, reading, information that I don't quite understand from the
Right.
CDC or listening to right wing or left wing talking heads or whatever, wherever I get it, my own doctors or whatever, I look and see who's getting the vaccine. And when I look at it that way, from me, I would say that it's probably more likely safe than not, right? Because otherwise, those folks would not be chomping at the bit to that degree. So whatever your
Right. Right.
conspiracy theory is, they wouldn't be trying to kill their own. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's what I did. Of course, I talked to my doctor first of all, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, Coleman, let me let. He said, first of all, Coleman, I'm going to take the vaccine. He said, Coleman, you don't, you shouldn't be afraid or anything. So he answered a couple of questions that I had for him, and I talked to a couple of nurses. What do y'all think about the vaccine? So I tried to ask as many questions as I can. So whatever decision I made, that I felt comfortable,
Right.
and so and so I felt comfortable with it, and I told my wife, okay, let's go, and so we did, and so still got to take number two, but yeah, I think, man, education as much as you can, because man, there's so much stuff out there. You know what I mean?
Oh boy.
Um, but then the access, because there are communities that people are setting up in rich communities taking the vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
think about that, man. And so if they taking that vaccine, um, like I said, man, you know, I even feel a little more comfortable when I went in there, man. Me and my wife were the only one that I said, Lee, you and I the only one in here look like us.
Oh, see, that's just what my dad says, right? So the only thing you got to be concerned about is you got to look at the people in front of you. Okay, they got the needle with the blue tube. Now, if my tube is red, then I got to be concerned. No, I want the blue one.
That's right. That's right. That's right, man.
Did you
You
figure
know?
you're all right? But yeah, I think from a practical, standpoint on there, just kind of cutting through all the noise, that's one safe way to look at that. Dad always said, go where you're not wanted. The services
Yeah.
are going to be better. You're going to be treated better. So, and that has always held up to be true to me.
Right. Right.
So, talking about the vaccine, should we open back up? Should we you're more cautious, right? So I guess you really kind of answered
Right.
it. For you, you're going to kind of go slow, or you'll
I'm going
listen to
slow.
whatever the
Right.
governor says. But even if he says you can have this many, you're still like, no, we're still going to do it this way, because you are
Right.
accountable for your folks, right?
Absolutely. And so that's myself. I'm gonna move slow.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my my, other pastor preacher friend, man, them guys just step on the throttle. Them guys are wide open, and so I said, man, every man got to give account of himself. And I said, but for me, you know, don't ask me to come to a crowd, man. And um, you know, right now, I'd rather just kind of, do it with cautions. And I like to feel comfortable, man. One thing about me, I like to feel comfortable. I like to know, when I invested money, I wanted it to be where I was comfortable, man. Long as I feel comfortable, I can stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But and so that I guess moving forward, we just gradually, just moving gradually. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. We are here with Pastor Reverend Coleman from Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church. We're having an excellent conversation. Uh, Miss Diane West says, "I like what you said, Marwan." And yes, safety first. So I appreciate everyone in the chat that's viewing and listening to us, and hopefully share this information out to other people, because that's how we're going to change the narrative, right? And kind of bring people in, is providing that space for other thoughts to be heard, to be accessible to people who didn't previously think that we were accessible. We are, and we're here, so we can have those conversations. To that end, there's a lot of abandoned buildings around Kitsap County. What could they do with these buildings, Pastor? What should they do? Any ideas?
And I seen a building. I can't remember. I think the location was somewhere near that Burger King on Sixth Street. I guess for some reason I seemed like I just made a turn and it looked like it had an old hospital or something. It was,
Mm-hmm.
and I say, man, it's just a waste. People got these buildings, and man, you got homeless people. It don't make sense to me. Just like that. Of course, they got the old Harrison building. I said, man, that'd be ideal. Get somebody to manage that thing, man, and take the homeless. You got to put people with them and model that for them and bring them through the program. Go with them all the way through it. Man, that's a way to be able to, to get people to come through homelessness and get themselves back up under their feet, get them into housing, and and I think they would really appreciate that. And because you figure in a hospital, man, how many rooms are in that place?
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would be an ideal. I don't know. I don't know. What has to be done. I don't know. Who the contact people for that, man. But I'm gonna mention it. I'm gonna mention that to the mayor, man. And I'm thinking, man, that just don't make sense because the problem of homelessness, it ain't going away.
Right.
It ain't going away. And a lot of times people don't want to see it until they hit their doorsteps.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize, man, well, you can wake up one morning and they're in front of your yard, and so it just seemed like all these empty buildings that we have in Bremerton, small and large, man, I think can be used to support homelessness, because everybody that's homeless, man, everybody don't want to be homeless. Right. Some people may be homeless because they lost their job or something happened, divorce or whatever. And I think given the opportunity, some people would actually want to, would love, man, to have their own home, man. Love to be able to pay their own bills, but they just need an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think you said it too. I think the model that exists right now is, you get them stabilized, and then once they're good, you kind of cut the cord. And folks need more support for longer periods of time. So I think they're going to need programming and services for maybe, a few years after that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that they still are, having that mental health. They're still filling in the gaps if they don't have all their financial needs met, making sure that they're able to get into some job training or whatever that case may be, helping their kids get into, special programming so that their academics continues to increase. If they need mental health counseling, whatever that looks like,
yes,
that support still needs to be intact. But I think they pull away too quickly and they say, okay, you're good. And then, folks, they do it for a little bit, but that first little crisis that happens, then back they go. So I think that is something that they need to change. And you're going to spend the money. I think they just need to find some different ways to spend it a little bit more effectively. It's going to cost regardless of what you do. So,
right.
But we're talking about people, so invest in people is really what it is. And, beyond that, and I think that's like a vet little hospital that used to be over there by that little Burger King, that little house there you were talking about. But we've got the Sizzler on Wheaton Way. We got the Denny's that's right across the street. I mean, there's so many of these huge buildings even if it's not just for homeless. Entrepreneurship for our black community to be able to provide for themselves and
Absolutely.
do some things, because we can't depend on the government, and living under the government's assistance is really contributes to the cycle of poverty, right? And so it's really difficult to escape that black hole, right? Because what they
Right.
do is, the way it's designed is, hey, okay, well, you get this TANF or you get these food stamps, but as soon as you earn this amount, then we decrease your food stamps. So when you do that, you say,
Right.
hey, these people are no longer on food stamps, but for dollar, it's the exact same amount. You haven't done
Right.
anything. You're patting yourself on the back like you made this outcome, but these folks are still stuck, and so they're
Yep.
being punished.
Exactly.
And
The,
we know that it's going to take, many communities, micro communities, and it may be multiple families living in a home. You got to
yep.
get back to, not telling the man that he can't be there in the house, or she can't get services for her and her kid, and they're going to be cut off like they
Right.
did to us, a couple decades ago, which really had a really big impact on the black community as far as families and relationships, right? You remove the man out of the household, and so now he's fending for himself. There's no programs or resources for him. The single mother is there in the home with the kids. She's dependent on the government, and it's
Right.
a natural wedge to keep you separated, right? And then it starts to
Right.
pit, each one against each other. And we talk about, I know I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here, but we talk about, women's empowerment and things of that nature. Like, I think some of the feminist, movement, from the white community has kind of hit the black community in a toxic way, where we're not really in an oppressive, situation over
Right.
black women, because we couldn't be, right? I mean, we're the prison
Right.
industrial complex, the drugs of the 80s, making sure that black men can't be in the home, being disenfranchised, and then this is what you have, right? And now everyone is struggling, and when you got crabs in the barrel, you
Yep.
got it's not even black on black crime, right? It was, to me, it's almost like there's really no such thing, right? There's white on white crime. It's just proximity. Who is in and around you? That's where
Right.
violence and whatever the issues are that are going to be. It's who's around you. You're not going to go to some other community and commit an act of violence or whatever the case is. It's those that are in your proximity. So I think all those things have to be addressed in order for us to truly make some changes. We got to be unique in how we do that, but we got to build ourselves back. And to that end, I'm going to feed into our question on friendship. So what is a good friend? How do you define friendship? And how are you a good friend to others?
Of course, I would say, um, well, one, if you have 2 or 3 friends in a lifetime, you've had a lot.
Wow.
um, I guess when we say friend, of course, we have a lot of different people that we, acquainted with and who are good acquaintances. But when you talk about a friend, you don't have to even be in the same state with your friend. But when you need him or when you need her, she's there. Somebody you can talk to, be honest with. Of course, all those things, be honest and trust and worthy and all those things. But somebody that knows you and they're gonna be honest with you, and you're gonna be honest with them, right or wrong. You know, like I say, you don't have to talk to each other every day. You don't have to talk to each other every week or nothing like that. You can talk to each other once a year, but man, the kind of a person that you can depend on regardless. One of my best friends, man. Matter of fact, that I have is in Louisiana. We don't, we were best friends, and I left and joined the army, so that kind of broke us up that way because we used to be together every day. Matter of fact, people thought we were twins. We looked like each other, and so, but he's the guy. He's the kind of guy that what I'm talking about. He's a friend. We don't see each other every week or month, but I know this guy. And I think if you got 1 or 2 people like that in a lifetime, man, you've had something. Of course, everybody need people to associate with. Everybody need other people to be acquainted with and to do life with. Everybody need that. But a real friend, Scripture says here, he stick it closer than a brother.
Okay.
He said there is a friend that stick it closer than a brother. And and that's what I would consider a friend, man. And if you got 2 or 3 in a lifetime like that, and that's rare.
So with it being rare, what would you recommend to folks that are in need of friendship? How would they go about finding friendship, creating friendship? Because again, I kind of go back to community. We have a lot of folks that if it's a romantic thing, they got a bad picker, right? They got a type and they always pick the bad one, or they kind of birds of a feather flock together. They're kind of going around the folks that are going to keep them down and aren't going to try to elevate them and be positive. And so what would you tell them on how to identify positive relationships, how to find those, how to try to create that?
Well, you know what hopefully that if you're looking for a friend, hopefully that you know what you don't want.
Okay.
You know what you don't want. You know what you don't want to waste your time with. But at the same time, you have to go in with an open mind. See, it's just like somebody come to me or come to my church, or first of all, they looking at me like the last 3 or 4 pastors. I'm not the last 3 or 4 pastors. I'm me. And so I have to go in there with an open mind, and say, okay. But at the same time, I'm going there with an open mind, but I'm not going in there with, I'm going in there to just be friends. But then again, I think some people go in, man, when they go in hard. They go in with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And people will tell you, Pastor Coleman, he like being by himself. That's me. I just like being, by myself. I got a wife. I don't connect with a lot of people. That's just me. That's just the way I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm very, like I think we said this earlier, I'm very cautious. Okay. I'm very cautious, man. And I think, people, and everybody needs somebody to talk to be able to, conversate with. And there are people that looking for the same thing you may be looking for, but you got to find who that person is. Everybody ain't out to, rip your heart out. Everybody ain't out to hurt you. Everybody ain't out to, take advantage of you. Everybody, because if a person done been hurt, I'm telling you, if a person done been hurt, Doc, everybody he look at, they want to hurt him. That's the way they see it. Everybody that I look at, I can't trust them. I don't, and I think you got to go in with an open mind, not judgment. I'm just going with an open mind and just getting a feel for this person. Can I trust this person? Are they going to tell my business, or are they going to be confidential? And I think each individual is different, but you do have to be careful. Of course, this is the different, we're living in a different time, so you got to be careful as well. Man, I've been burnt so many times. My wife used to call me toast bread. Because I like helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I just think if a person show me who they are, I'm just thinking, okay. But then again, some people, they show you who they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, I don't always just go in full, full wide open. Take things slow, move slowly. But it takes time, man. Friendship gonna take some time, Doc.
So,
It takes some time.
I think that's what I'm kind of taking. If I were to summarize what you were saying, is, you may have been hurt, but you do have to, open yourself up.
Yeah.
But take your time. Don't be in a hurry. You don't have to overextend yourself. TMI is a real thing. You don't tell everyone your business, and you sure don't tell them right off the bat, right? Because you are making yourself tremendously vulnerable, and you don't know if they're going to be a caretaker of the things that, the confidence that you're trying to instill in them, right? And that's not what
Right.
defines friendship anyway, that I have to tell you my deepest,
Exactly.
darkest insecurities or fears and anxieties for you to then go and twist on me, because I really don't know you that well anyway. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so I'm hearing just kind of take your time with it. Be proactive in creating these acquaintances that might blossom into friendship, but just don't be in a hurry, and it'll sort itself out, because people will reveal to you who they are over time, right? You'll
Yes,
see if they're
sir.
congruent, and that actually kind of comes out sooner than later, right? So if you're in a space
Absolutely.
and they're constantly talking about someone else that they say is their friend, then you know that when you're not in the room, they're probably talking about you like that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that might not be
Absolutely.
your friend, you know.
Absolutely.
So
My grandmother used to have a saying. She say, son, if it don't come out in the wash, she gonna come out in the rinse. So it's gonna come out.
But I think that's such a hard one for pastor, for folks that are in these relationships that they find themselves in over and over again, and confiding in the wrong folks. And my girlfriend, I thought she was my friend, and she did this, that, and the other to me. And then we're going to talk about relationships here next. And I just keep picking the same man, or I keep picking the same woman, and the outcome never changes. But I don't understand how I don't see it coming, because it just seems so good. And I actually felt like I took my time. So just trying to let folks know that if you are working on you, prioritize you. Put God first if that's what you believe in. Work on you, and other things will start to sort itself out. But just don't be in a hurry for the other things. Those things will come. That
Another time, Marwan, I think that another time when people go searching for friendship, they even sometimes will see the red flags, right?
mm-hmm.
But they would they would go with the idea, oh yeah, that just so they just kind of just bypass the flags and things that stand out. All of a sudden you see something and you see something, you say, well, I don't just man. But you just ignore it and just keep right on going. Because in our mind, sometimes we think, oh, that's just, it's just a little thing. That just, it ain't nothing big, it just, that's just the way they are. They said that, but they don't really mean that. So we try to justify them now. So all of a sudden now you got all these little things that, little things add up to big things, right? And sometimes we go into a relationship thinking that it ain't no big thing, or sometimes we go into a relationship think that we can change the person, or we can
Oh
fix it.
boy.
And so then we end up on the other end when the very same thing that we was shown ahead of time, the very same thing that we ignored,
Mm-hmm.
it comes back. So when you look at it, man, and that's why I say just you can't ignore. There's a lot of things that I'm learning at 59 that I didn't know at 23, Doc. Let me tell you something. Experience give you a little more insight on that.
It does. It's like you no longer
Yeah.
have to be from the show me state. I'm not from Missouri, and I do believe fat meat is greasy.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So we got some
Yeah.
folks in the chat. Shaylin is saying, thank you, Pastor. Uh, she says, let me see here. There could be a building services. Seattle has for housing first programs and models. More wraparound services are needed. Destruction of the black family, kind of talking about that separation. Kendra and Shaylin both say yes. Diana West says that's right. True friendship takes time. Time will always tell. Big Mama. And then I guess that's who you ask and talk with. And then Pastor, when are you opening the church back up? That's what Cynthia asked.
Okay. I don't know if Miss Cynthia heard my earlier comment, Miss Cynthia, was that, um, on Easter Sunday, we're having a, park and praise or parking lot service. You can come, and of course we have communion on Easter Sunday. That's for everybody. Everybody can come on Easter Sunday, and moving forward after that, we're having those small, um, fellowship groups that we have within our church, 20 to 25 people of those individual groups will be given an assigned Sunday. I make mention also on Sunday that make sure that the church have your email address, because that's the way we're going to get the information out going forward about, who have access on what particular Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so make sure Miss Lisa have your email address, because everybody is assigned a fellowship group. So just make sure that you're connected with your particular group. Okay, and the church have your email address.
All right. Yeah, I think Miss Cynthia is still at work, so she's kind of in and out when she can
Oh,
hear us.
okay, gotcha, okay.
So, but thank you for that, because there's other people listening, and they definitely need to hear that. So, as we continue on with our relationships, again, this is the Conduit with Marwan Cameron. Our guest tonight is Pastor Reverend Frankie Coleman of Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church, and we're talking about relationships right now. And you say you have been married for a very long time, and congratulations and happy early anniversary to you. What advice would you give to folks as far as identifying what makes a good spouse or significant other? What are some qualities that folks should be looking for?
I'll say on myself and Lady Lean been married May 30th, it'll be 35 years. Okay. We was 23 and I think 23 and 24. This past Friday, I married a young couple, 23, 24. Saturday, went did a wedding vow renewal. This couple was celebrating 30 years.
Wow.
And so what I said to both of them was this: marriage is one of the hardest things that you ever do in life. Marriage is work, man. Marriage is hard work. But marriage is something that was instituted by Christ himself. He said, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and then the two shall become one flesh. Now you're trying to take two people with two different, got ideas, personalities of their own, got goals, got opinions of their own. And I think what have helped me to be married as long as Lean and I have, first of all, I respect my wife. Okay, I respect my wife. I respect that she has an opinion. She's not me. She wasn't raised like I was raised. You know what I mean? So you got to consider that. So I'm very understanding. I'm a very understanding brother. Right. Okay. I'm not ready to go off and get married quick. I'm not that kind of guy. And I think what have kept me married, I'm very supportive of what she did. Okay. She's not Frank. Frank, like, Pastor Coleman, like, he like old cars. He like that kind of stuff. She don't like old cars. She like music. She like playing piano. And when, I couldn't carry a note if you put it in a bag, Doc, but I support her. See? I support her. And sometimes, man, when her and your dad used to get together, oh man, that's another story. And so, but I'm very supportive. I like to laugh, man. Okay. Mm-hmm. I like to have a good time. So I'm loyal. I'm the type of guy, I'm in for the long haul. Everything I do, I like stability. I'm very. I think it's my job to take care of my wife. And I tell people all the time, my wife worked because she want to work, not because she have to work. That's what she choose to do, because I think that's my job. Oh, right. My job is to support my wife. That's just my belief. Mm-hmm. My job is to support my wife, to take care of my wife. She like nice things. She like shoes and all that stuff. So she works for that. Okay. But I think my job is to be supportive. And my job is to protect her, to provide for her. That's what I think my job is. And when you know that, when you know what your responsibility is going into marriage, man, when I tell people this here, Marwan, don't marry somebody that you can just live with. Marry somebody you can't live without.
Okay. I like that.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can live with anybody, Doc. You can live with it. But when you meet that individual that you can't live without,
Mm-hmm.
now you might be in a good business, Doc. You know, because you're not gonna just handle and take care of her in a kind of way if that's somebody that you know you can't live without. And so, um, man, I was talking about I got caught up talking about my wife. I forgot the questions.
Well, you were answering. It was just basically you were comparing and contrasting. You married two couples, one that's been
Right,
married 30 and one that just got married. And you told them the same message on what they
same
needed to
thing.
do.
That's right.
So on the other side, what would you say to this is what you're saying, primarily you're kind of speaking more from a man's point of view on loving his wife. What would that spouse be needing to look for in that spouse to give back, right? You say you respect your wife. What are you looking for in return in a spouse or a significant other?
The very same qualities that I give.
Okay.
If of course I respect my wife, my wife respect me.
Mm-hmm.
See, I respect my wife, she respect me. I have an opinion, she have one. Okay, I'm not asking my wife to be me. Be yourself. You know, you can be yourself. We can still be married, but you can be yourself. You don't have to just, you know, you don't have to be. I don't have to be. See, when you're comfortable with that, you don't have to be a guy that's jealous. You know, and some guys are just jealous and man, they don't want their wife talking to nobody and my wife at the same time. She know you can't be jealous with me, not with me. You can't be jealous and be with me. I talk to ladies all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be secure enough. First of all, you got to be so secure enough with me and believe in who I am, and at the same time, I'm going to respect you. That I'm not going to do anything outside of you that will disrespect and hurt you.
Right.
See, and I think you got to be comfortable with that, man. And everybody can't be married to a guy like me. A
Mm-hmm.
pastor. You talk to people, man. I've been around. I can preach at different churches, man. The pastor talking to Sister Brown, and man, it's almost on and popping. You know, you know. so at the same thing, what I give, that's what I look in for return. And so if I'm contemplating marriage, man, I recognize and don't think I can change the person. Oh, you can't change them, Doc. You're not gonna change them. At the same time, what you give out, hopefully that's what you expecting in return that you're getting. And don't think you're gonna change it because you're not gonna change her.
Mm.
You're not gonna change it. And if you say one thing, say what you mean and mean what you say.
Oh yeah.
You know that's gonna be very important in a. You can't be giving 110 and she giving 40. Doc. That just can't happen.
Right.
And
And
you,
you
and
and you
you, you
can't
got to
make
know
her.
that going into it.
You can't make them give the other 70% to match.
No,
You're not gonna.
no,
There's nothing you're gonna be able to do. You're already giving 110, so
yeah,
190 ain't gonna make them give 70.
no,
So,
absolutely.
oh, I
And you
like
can't
that.
and you can't make nobody love you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just not gonna happen. Um, and so, man, let me tell you something. Like I said, marriage is you're gonna have good days. You're gonna have blessing, burdens, and challenges. Okay. Uh, but here again, that's why I say it's work. It's work, man. It's gonna be one of the most challenging things that you ever do in life, and sometimes, um, you know, one thing I would say, marriage is not for kids, man.
Mm.
Okay, I
Okay.
tell young couples, and sometimes I try to discourage them. Say, look here, you got see they're they're in love with the ideal of marriage.
Mm.
You know, she's in love with the ideal of marriage. Or he with the idea of marriage. But you got to remember, I was sharing with a young couple, man, don't spend all your money. You guys, you barely making it. You don't want to just spend all your money just on a wedding, talk about throwing rice. You're gonna need to eat some rice after this wedding, Doc. And so now you gotta,
Wow.
it takes some. Marriage is not for kids, man. I'm telling you, Doc. It's not for kids. It's for two mature adults who've decided they found each other. They found each other. Now they're learning each other. They're falling in love with each other, and now they're ready to take the step, which is marriage. And marriage is not the last step; it's just the beginning.
Oh.
And so once I get married, that's when life starts. And so that's what I'm saying is don't don't just marry somebody you can just live with. No, marry you somebody you can't live without. Because if you don't do that, the first little challenge, you're gonna be like, man, I'm out of here,
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I think about. I would say to somebody looking, for step, so looking for a marriage.
Oh, Pastor's keeping it 100 tonight. Diana says, Pastor Coleman, you are telling the truth about marriage! Exclamation point. Shaylin says, yes! Exclamation point. Something powerful you said too, and we hear it all the time, but I don't think it kicks in. Most folks that I interview will say communication, right? But then you didn't say communication. You said mean what you say and say what you mean. And I think a lot of times passive aggressively or not being able to effectively communicate, folks will do some of those other things and they're not saying what they mean and they're not doing what they say. And that's causing the rift, right? And then you're wondering why, they're not doing what you want them to do or acting the way that you want them to act. But you never articulated that to them, right? Because you're saying something else than what you actually really want. You need to be honest in what your needs are and what your wants are. So I see that all the time, even my own personal experiences where, you're saying something else or, well, if you love me, then you would know what I want. You should know what I need if you really love me, things like that, right? Oh, that's not effective. Then clearly I don't. So tell me, right? So stop playing the games.
Absolutely.
And so those are the things that personal accountability, I think, is really important.
Absolutely.
So, man, I think we're having a fantastic conversation. I'm Arwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. We're talking with Pastor Coleman tonight. Pastor, as we wrap up, is there something that folks don't know about you, something kind of interesting, kind of hobby or something like that would be kind of surprised?
Well, I would say folks don't probably know that I like restoring old cars. Okay, and I restored I had two. I restored a 1952 Pontiac Chieftain. Um, I restored that, and matter of fact, I gave it to my brother. I know he wanted it, and I started to sell it, but I couldn't sell it knowing he wanted it.
That he wanted
it. He wanted it, Doc. I mean, when he looked at it, he would lick his lip. He would lick his lips, so I know he wanted it. And so I put it on the truck, man, and I gave it to him, and had it shipped down to Louisiana for him and everything. And I had a 1950 Packard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love restoring old cars. It's almost like you can go out there, man, and mess with an old car, and you can take your time. It helps me get my mind away from everything else, church and all that other stuff. So you have to have a way to be able to take time out for you, no matter what happened. No matter what go on, whether it's in your relationship, whatever, you got to make sure you make time for you. And Pastor Coleman make time out for him.
Right.
And especially during this COVID, man, you got to make sure there's something you got to make sure you're doing you. And I have to make sure I'm doing me. And I like restoring old cars, and that's something that I just love doing. Besides preaching, that. I love what I'm doing. I retired 4 years ago, and I was able to be 55 and able to be retired, and so it gave me more time to do do what I love doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's preaching. And so and that was all that was always my goal and my prayers, Lord. Of course I know I had a family and my kids or whatever, and I done that. I took care of what I believe I needed to take care of. for my wife and my family and my kids, and when I retired, at 55, and that was my promise to God, and just allow me to do what I love doing, that I think would bring you honor, and that's what I've been doing. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I love doing what I'm doing, and there's just a couple of things that I like doing.
Well, normally you're preaching on Sunday and probably getting ready to preach on Saturday. I remember Dad, working on a sermon, the times that he would preach, and he's always working on music. But, the night before and in the morning before and still trying to get it together. Do you ever get to go to like old car shows and things like that and see?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I love going to old car shows, and I'm taking pictures. I'm drooling. I'm drooling. I'm looking under hoods, and I love that, man. That's relaxing for me. Um, now that I'm older, um, I don't do as much as I used to do, but every
Mm-hmm.
now and then, I still like going out there and pulling the wrench out and just kind of let's see how this thing works, man. And so um, every now and then, but you do it, a little bit as you can,
Right, right.
as you
Now, as
want to.
pastor, like in a car club, do you got a car that you've got? You got all these different clubs out here. I think you've got oh, they got everything. They got the little the imports, and they've got the old,
Right.
really old cars, and are you into that or?
Well, like I say, and I haven't really been really connected with a lot of the clubs because of course a lot of the clubs, some of them are on Saturday, but most of them are on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I told those guys, look, man, I work on Sunday, and and so right now, even in my garage right now, I got an '81 Mercedes 380 SL,
Oh,
and
really?
so it's a convertible top.
Mm-hmm.
I've been tinkering around every now and then when you feel like going out there, and so I got something I've been taking around, and hopefully when the weather get a little nicer, you just feel like you want to just you no more than just ride to the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that, and so you still got to, I'm still connected to it in some kind of way, you know.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I can see from you, just in our conversations, that you do like to smile and be happy, like it's genuine,
Absolutely, man.
Um, but I definitely want to thank you for coming on. I'm hoping that you will be willing to come on again, and please think about maybe having that conversation with other folks. I'm going to talk with the other ministers as they come on, but I think it's important to find a way for the churches and the secular community to come together and do some things to help our community. But then also, for me, secondarily is to bring folks into the church, and help them to find a home wherever it is. And there's so many different churches to choose from. Um,
Right.
but I think, they don't know what they don't know, right? And you could
Right.
have said
Absolutely.
no
Absolutely.
4 or 5 years ago, and you don't know what it is anymore, and you're just kind of going on
Yeah.
rumor and hearsay, and you have no idea, but you've been turned off by the church, and the church is still
Right.
doing a lot of good things. And I think, you know, through partnership and collaboration, those things will be made seen, as they kind of see us working together, and it's like, oh, these guys are doing great work over there, and then, these brothers are about it, and I love what they're doing, and now I'm going to the church and I'm doing my thing. And I just think that that's how we've got to take control over our own community. And
Right.
21, I've been telling folks, it just seems different. Folks are kind of doing
Oh
their
yeah.
own little thing, and it's good. You need to do your thing, right? Because you need to get started. It doesn't have to be a big organization. It could just be you in your household, your family doing something where
Hmm.
you contribute either time or money or whatever it is. And then you
Right.
spread out a little bit more. Maybe you get involved in an organization or two, and then you kind of build those things and get some economies of scale and build on that synergy. But it feels different in 21, where I think folks are now ready to kind of move past some of those
Right.
barriers and obstacles and say, okay, let's do this. We can do this. We want to do this. And we can put ourselves and our ego aside and find ways to work to the betterment of our community.
Absolutely, man. And I really want to say thank you so very much, Mowan, and really appreciate what you're doing with G2, and the connection you are making. And thank you for assisting my I guess my play daughter Kendra Witten and her and the boys. I really appreciate you being able to give us. And I think that's what they're going to take, man. They're going to take all of us working together, being able to to be able to help somebody else, not for our glory, but for God's glory. And so yeah. And I'm at Sinclair, man. Any way that I can help, just you got my number.
Yeah, well, no, I'm definitely going to reach out to you. And in regards to Kendra and Keyshawn and Matthew, so we had an initiative through G2. We're calling it hashtag G2 Stimulus 2021. So we're giving away $25,000. Now, our mission is self-sufficiency. And so for them, knowing their story, and she's very open with this, I'm not, telling business that she's not okay with. But, she's been sleeping on the floor or on the couch or, on a blow-up mattress. And it's like, look, you have persevered. The resilience of Kendra has been amazing, right? Folks have not gone through a tenth of what she's gone through and haven't been able to make it. But still, she continues to thrive. And so when we were able to come into that money, that's why we wanted to identify folks that we could really help and do it in some different ways, because we can spend the money how we want. So, we just, another family, single mother, 2 kids, didn't have hot water and heat. And so we just spent $1,000 to fix their water heater and put them in a hotel for 2 days because it's going down into freezing. So just things like that. And then computer literacy. So we're giving away laptops because, folks need, access to the internet, but then they need good working computers, not Chromebooks.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, the kid that's in the school, if they're in the household, that might be the only computer that's in the home. And it's a Chromebook that's designed for the kid to use for school purposes. And that's all that's there. But, you might need energy assistance or rental assistance or looking for a job or, just trying to stay connected in the world, research, information on the vaccine and whatnot. So we try to find the different ways to fill the gaps in the community. And that's why we love, being able to be our own organization so we can come up with those unique ways to try to serve and build. You know what I'm saying? So we're not under kind of the yoke of something bigger that says, well, you can help, but you can only help this way. It's like, no, we can help this way. We're going to do this. Right. If we can, we're going to try. So we just gave a computer to Shaylin's daughter, Zariah. So, she just turned 16 and she's doing great. Right. So she got one of those computers and and so we just want to try to elevate folks and acknowledge them. Raymond is one of our board members. He says, give people the flowers while they're still here. And you were talking about that with Black History, right? It's like, don't wait till they're gone. Tell them you love them now, show your appreciation now, acknowledge them now, because they actually need it now. It's hard.
Yes.
And so they're going through some things. Everyone does. And hearing that those words of encouragement or those words of affirmation really can be the difference for folks in any given day. And you have no idea what they're going through. They can be as stoic as ever, but be dying on the inside. So just do that and reach out to folks.
Absolutely.
Any final
Appreciate
thoughts?
You, man. Pastor? Appreciate you, man. Thank you so very much. And anyway, I can be a blessing.
All right.
Let me know, man.
Well, thank you so much. That was Pastor Coleman, everyone. Sinclair Missionary Baptist Church. Like I said, this was going to be a really good one. Tomorrow we have Miss Anita, if I'm able to make it down there. She will actually be in office at G2. And then Wednesday, as I said, we have, let me find my list, Elijah Miggs. Thursday, there is talks about expansion of G2 into Texas. So we're going to hear their proposal on what they want to do there. I'm all for people dreaming big, and I want to see what they're talking about. And then on Friday, we have Minister Michael Ellington from New Horizon Baptist Church, one of our partners that help us with our food program. So stay tuned. I will be on probably other times throughout the week. But this is The Conduit. I am Marwan Cameron. And until next time, we will see you later. Thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome. Bless you, man. Take care.
You too.